So decolonizing outer space is multi-layered. Sometimes it is about thinking about the future and making sure that colonial practices don't extend into the future, but also about how to stop or disrupt the colonial activities that are happening right now associated with space exploration. So things like the use of indigenous lands for launch sites and how to actually rematriate that land back to its original people, or things like military uses of outer space, which oftentimes lead to indigenous people being harmed or killed through space technologies. And so decolonizing outer space kind of moves back and forth into the future and the past.
Humans have been going to outer space for many years, with the Apollo landings on the moon being really famous. What people may not know is that there's a whole new set of missions that are attempting to either colonize the moon, send people into orbital infrastructures, or in Elon Musk's case, to try to set up a colony on Mars. And our project is trying to look at what are the political implications of that, and can we use our memory and our understanding and our theories of how colonization worked on Earth to understand this new dimension of outer space exploration.
Right now is more of a continuation of colonial practices, and we can see the legacies of colonial practices in our daily basis in terms of like the sort of structures and physical and mental and cultural as well that have long-lasting, profound repercussion on people. And then the idea of decolonizing outer space is not decolonizing the place, because it would be a simple thing as saying like, well, if you want to decolonize it, don't go there. But it's more rather decolonizing the thought of the way we sort of like have this very extractive practice and mentality related to personal gain and individual sort of like gain as well.
So right now space does have a bias towards eurocentric ideas and constructions. So most of the time when we're talking about going into space, or who is really active in space, we're talking about Western nations. So mostly the United States. Obviously we all know what NASA is. It's probably one of the best branded entities on the planet, and oftentimes it means that the United States or the West get to lead in what activities or what kind of governance we're going to have in the future in space. So whether or not we're putting the economy before people is oftentimes a Eurocentric bias, because of the way in which historically Europe has always tried to dominate land and people for its own benefits. And we're seeing that now replicated with the race to space and the possibilities of splitting up the moon in the same way that European colonizers tried to split up the world for their own benefit.
A lot of discourse and conversation around space, and especially the sort of posture that a lot of academics and people in general have, is often very abstract and not very tangible. And Learning to Moonwalk was a project where, is a project where I'm trying to actually bring some level of viscerality and tangibility to this sort of question, how does it feel to be on the moon, but also put a lens onto the things that we don't discuss when we're thinking about space exploration, more particularly moon settlement, which is the workers, the little things that changes the fact that we're not walking normally, but we're bouncing around, that we have definitely changed. This definitely changes our stance, and therefore changes our perception of the world around us and how it affects the way we think about the world and our worldviews. The fact that you see an Earth crescent as opposed to a moon crescent, what does it actually do, and how does it influences our ability to exist?
I think it's really important to look at this problem now, because I think for one, we know that in past forms of imperial encounter and endeavour, in the very, very early days of colonial exploration, the rules of the game were set in place very early. The institutions of slavery, of the denial of indigenous sovereignty, all of these things appear really early. So you really want to get in on the ground up. And secondly, I think we're just seeing such a rapid expansion in the amount of investment, the amount of countries involved, and so few political scientists paying attention or doing work on this.
Well, it's exactly as you're saying. The problem is like we try to avoid repeating our mistakes in outer space, and then it's important to have this conversation now so we know what we're getting into, because I don't think there's any way we can stop it to a degree. But maybe the idea is maybe doing it in a different way or more respectfully, or like less with land grabbing sort of like priorities and things like that. I don't know how it looks like, but I think it's important that this conversation exists so actually we can start thinking about it.
We're constantly, and I mean that globally, astrobiologists, physicists, and biologists across the world are always looking for life out in outer space. And we're always like, well, there might be something out there. Well, historically, humans haven't been the greatest at encountering literal other humans and treating them with respect and dignity. And I have a hard time believing that if we encounter something so radically different from us, that we'd be able to just go, ah, yeah, friend. And so kind of make it so that our systems and our ideas about what it is to go into space are already thinking about those encounters rather than being surprised by them. Because we're looking and we can't be surprised when we find something. And that's kind of how I see it, is I don't want us going out and killing little green men. And I don't want them to kill us either. So I think maybe understanding better relations with living and more than human beings right now is probably the way to go.
I would say that what's really interesting about this field is that it creates the opportunity in which people who work in politics, sociology, and anthropology have a lot to say to and work with people in completely unrelated fields, working in astronomy, in design, in engineering, and all of those groups are making a whole bunch of technical decisions about the politics of outer space, about the sociology of outer space, that we've yet to look at and yet to understand. So there's a lot of room for cross-conversation, cross-fertilization between these different groups and how we understand this phenomenon.